Hello and welcome to this West Yorkshire football show. I'm your host, Stephen Downs. And with me tonight, I've got the one and only Gaz, Bradford City fan. It's a bit of a slimmed down West Yorkshire football show hosting panel tonight, but you have got two of the best on show. So I hope you enjoy the next 45 minutes to an hour or so, where we'll be going through all the latest at Bradford City, all the latest at Huddersfield Town, who have absolutely gone like a mad egg with announcements so far. And Kevin Nagle said that there are more to come, so who knows? Leeds United have also signed a player today. I'll get Gaz to pronounce his name a little bit later on.
You bloody won't.
And there are some non-league news as well from around our West Yorkshire sides. Chris and Lou, I think, are going to do a non-league show on Wednesday. So I'll be honest, we'll sort of like do a few headlines tonight, but they'll have more in-depth news about non-league because they are the non-league experts. But for now, please do get your comments in. Please do get your like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We really do appreciate it. The views are getting fantastic at the moment, both on here and TikTok. So Gaz, first of all, how are you doing, mate, on this Monday evening?
I'm not so bad. I'm glad you when you said slimmed down, you pointed out that is the panel tonight and not me, because I am far from slimmed down at the moment. I could do with slimming down.
No, don't get lost.
But not bad. Not bad, mate. You? How are you doing?
You are a fine gent. Good. I think I'm back now. Good. I'm doing well, mate. It's a bit too warm, is this weather? I don't know what it's like over in that there Lancashire, but it's a bit warm for me.
Dark side at Pennines, yeah, it's warm here and all. We'll have a heat wave end of week, aren't we?
Yeah, but supposedly so. Though the weekend was a bit warm as well. Thundery showers over this way. So yeah. Anyway, let's never mind the weather. We're not here for a weather update. Let's get on with the show. First bit of non-league news that we can discuss a little bit is from Farsley Celtic. It was announced today that ex-goalkeeper David Stockdale and his family have agreed to be a major shareholder within the club and sort of purchase 100% of it. The Farsley Celtic statement says the club can confirm that the Stockdale family has agreed with the major shareholders to acquire 100% of FC 2010 Holdings Limited. The formal completion of the purchase is subject to final legal technicalities. The club will provide further updates in due course, and that was announced as well in the last sort of 24 hours, guys. Just quick thoughts on that one. Obviously, we have gone through kind of the various stages of, I suppose you could call it the death of Farsley Celtic in a sense, and the way the club has been run. But it seems like there might be now a bit of an end, with light at the end of the tunnel, as it were. Thoughts on that, guys? Thoughts on the Farsley Celtic news?
Yeah, I mean, I'm no non-league expert, as you know, Downsy, but as a football fan in general, all you can do is hope that this is the start of a new beginning for Farsley Celtic. Hopefully, it's the end of it marks the end of the troubles that they've got or had at the club over the last year or so, and they can move forward and move forward to a brighter future. I know there was a little bit of a chat in our group chat the other day earlier on when it was announced between Lou and Chris, who were talking about what league they'd be admitted to and how that might cause problems for other teams and things like that. But from a general football point of view, you've got to be glad that a team is being saved because they're the lifeblood of communities, as we know, and they mean a lot to supporters. So David Stockdale's got a history in the game. He's got a history at Farsley, having been manager there. I believe it's him and his family that have bought the club out, isn't it? Or are going to help set up the new club. So all the best to them, and long may they reign in a brighter future that we can only hope that they have, because no one wants to see a club go bust to the Downs, and no one wants to see one go out the window. So, fingers crossed for them going forward.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, David Stockdale, being an ex-player, sort of, it's a chance for him to run a football club. Not something that you rarely see. I mean, I know he took over as sort of interim manager, but he's gone through the stages quickly, hasn't he? From becoming, ex-player to coach to then manager, now owning a football club.
He's ticking them all off on bingo card, isn't he? I mean, I know him from when he played in Premier League at Brighton, when he was at Leeds for a bit as well, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Be interesting to see how that works, him going from a manager to an owner, and if he's going to combine the two, how that's going to work. There are obviously questions up in the air regarding whether he can combine both roles or whether he will seek to bring somebody in to manage the club. I don't 100% know, because like I said, I've not followed it closer because I'm not an expert on non-league. I'm sure it's something that Chris and Lou will discuss if they do a show on Wednesday in more detail, because they know more than us what they're talking about with that. But yeah, he's a football man. He's been in the game for a long, long time, so he should know or have a clue about what he's doing. And if he's got the money, or his family have the money to buy the club or to help the club set themselves up again, then he's obviously had some kind of success in the business world as well, which can only be beneficial for Farsley going forward.
Yeah, 100%. The other bit of non-league news that we've got is FC Halifax Town, which is obviously Shaman Stats and Mr. Dave Foy. His team obviously can't be with us tonight, but they recently announced the new manager of Adam Lakeland, following the departure of Chris Millington. Chris Millington's assistant head coach has also left. I don't know whether any of his other backroom staff has left the club. I will presume so. But Adam Lakeland has come in. The club said they can announce the first team manager, Alan Lakeland, has joined the Shaman following a successful spell at Kings Lynn Town, where he secured survival in his first season before securing a playoff finish last time out. Following a lengthy spell as manager of Blackburn Rovers women's team, Adam joined Curzon Ashton as first team coach, where they achieved back-to-back promotions in 2016. Adam joined Northwich Victoria as manager. They reached the Northern Premier League Division 1 North playoff final. A successful spell at Farsley Celtic followed, as Lakeland achieved a playoff spot before winning the league to reach the National League North in 2019. In 2021, Adam returned to Curzon Ashton, this time as manager. Early in 2023-24 season, Lakeland made the switch to the Kings Lynn, where he oversaw a mid-table finish before reaching the playoffs last season. Adam will be joined by his assistant from both Curzon and Kings Lynn, former Shaman Sam Walker, who was part of our first FA Trophy success in 2016. What do we make to that news? It was kind of discussed in the chat, Gaz. I think there was a bit of, he might do well. It's certainly another sort of maybe rebuild that needs to go on, which Halifax do go through every year. But yeah, he's got a tough task on Lakeland to follow in Chris Millington's shoes.
Yeah, well, that's the main thing, isn't it? That's the main takeaway. It's a tough task to follow what Chris Millington's done there, but Chris Millington had a tough task in following his predecessors. As you say, it seems to be the same every year at Halifax. It's a bit of a rebuild. They find these players and they do well at Town, and Town are always there or thereabouts in the playoff picture. And it's remarkable that they keep managing to do it, really. You've just got to hope for Town fans that Mr. Lakeland can do what Chris Millington's managed to do. They're a club that I know Dave put in the Dave, our Halifax Town resident fan, put in the group chat that it was always going to be the type of appointment that they made. It was never going to be a name that was going to come in, or a name, should we say, in inverted commas, because that's just not how Halifax work. You just got to see it as a continuity of what they've been doing and more of the same. It's a shame that Chris Millington's gone, because he's done a great job there, but you would imagine that he'll probably go on to manage elsewhere, maybe even in the league, or be an assistant to somebody in the league. He's definitely built up his reputation at Halifax Town. Obviously, they've got the issues there regarding the ground and what's going on with the rugby league club, so they're constantly battling against that, and at the moment as well. But yeah, more of the same you'd expect for Town, and a lot does rest on the manager because of the way that they operate and the way that they have to find players from nowhere or unknown players to come in and do as well as the previous players have done, who have 9 times out of 10 moved on to the league or to higher place conference teams. Lakeland's got a reasonable track record from what I can gather, not necessarily at conference level, but lower down. So they just got to hope that he can make the step up and carry on where Chris Millington left off. Again, I'm sure it's something that Lou and Chris will discuss on Wednesday, because I believe that they have possibly different opinions on it, or different opinions to what Dave had on it, judging by the group chat the other day. So might be an interesting one for people to tune in and listen to on Wednesday.
Yeah, 100%. Well, let's move on now to Bradford City. Your team, of course, Gaz. It's been a busy early period in the summer transfer window. Obviously, players are not sort of official until 1st of July. But, teams have, like Town and Bradford, have started announcing signings of those players that they're able to sign. Bradford have made 4 signings so far, and another one expected before pre-season training starts next week. For those that don't know, Gaz, I don't know if you want to just quickly run down the 4 that have been signed and your thoughts on the early business that City have done.
Yeah, so it's 4 signings today. Obviously, I've done my reaction videos to them as and when they've happened. We haven't had a specific Bradford show to discuss City in great detail, but I've tried to react to news as it's gone on. The first one that we signed was Max Power, which was before the playoffs had even... I don't even know if the semi-finals had finished when we signed him. Obviously, central midfielder, decent track record at League One level, having got promotions with Wigan in the past. Central midfielder, believed that he might fill in the gap that Richie Smallwood's left, but we'll come on to Richie Smallwood later on. I know we're going to talk about what's been said about him over the last week. So he was the first one, received pretty well by City fans because of his pedigree. I believe he's been playing in Denmark and in Saudi Arabia, so that's the only worry, whether he's still got the drive or the legs to play at League One level, having been over there for the last year. But on the face of it, a good signing. Second signing was Curtis Tilt, Salford City captain, 34-year-old. Again, we've gone down the route of players that have had success and got promotion in the past, because that's what worked for Graham Alexander last year in League Two, signing Neil Byrne, Anthony Sarcevic. He's gone for Curtis Tilt, who's got promotion out of League One with Wigan before. Not necessarily received as well as Max Power, probably nowhere near as well as Max Power was, just because he's been at Salford for the last 2 or 3 years, and Salford haven't pulled up any trees in League Two. They've not made the playoffs, and it's a one that City fans are looking at and saying not so sure about that one, to be honest. But it depends what role he's coming in to play in the squad. Is he coming in as a starter? Is he coming in as cover? He's certainly someone who's going to have the right mentality. Like I say, a captain, a previous promotion winner. So he's going to be someone who's good to be around the dressing room, even if he's not playing regularly. The third signing that we made was I can't remember his first name, Wright from Kilmarnock. Just bear with me, Downs. I'm just going to look up what his first name is. He actually came through the Joe Wright, came through the Huddersfield Academy as a kid. Spent some time on loan out at Aki Stanley, I think he was, and then he's been at Doncaster and Kilmarnock over the last few years. Very, very highly thought of at both of those clubs. Donny fans who've had a little bit of banter with City over the last couple of years, in League Two, as we've both been challenging for promotion, are actually holding their hands up and saying that he looks like a good signing for us, judging what they remember about him when they had him. They had him in League One when they were last in League One. And Kilmarnock fans, again, speak really highly of him as well. He's just won their Player of the Year at Kilmarnock. He's played in Europe for Kilmarnock as well. He's big mates with Brad Halliday. He's either a right-hand-sided centre-half or he'll play in the middle of the three, from what I can gather, one of those two positions. Chips in with an odd goal or two from corners. He's a big lad. So he looks like a good one. Downs, he looks like one we've picked. Done well to get, I would say, because I would imagine there were a bit of competition for him this summer. And then the fourth one that we've made is Josh Neuville. Who
probably your best one.
Yeah, it looks like the pick of the signings so far. A wing-back from Wimbledon. Wimbledon obviously come up with us through the playoffs this end of last season. He won their Player of the Year at their end of season awards. Mainly a right wing back, from what I can gather. So he's going to be in competition with Brad Halliday, who's obviously a fan's favourite at City, but he has played left wing back as well. We do have a big gaping hole at left wing back at the moment because Lewis Richards hasn't signed his new contract that he's been offered, and Teodor Amola's gone back to Crystal Palace. There are hopes that we might get him back on loan again. So the only left wing back that we've got at the moment is Tyreek Wright, who's not necessarily pulled up any trees in that position. So it'll be interesting to see if he plays left wing back. But from what I'm told, when asked about it, David Sharp said he's been brought in to compete with Brad Halliday at right wing back. So that's two really good right wing backs that we've got there competing for that shirt next season. I'm led to believe he's lightning quick, really good going forward, and can put a damn good cross in. So Wimbledon fans really, really disappointed to see him go. I think more disappointed that he's come to us, because I think they thought that obviously we've gone up with them. He might have gone a bit higher, possibly to a Town or somebody like that, who are obviously going to owe him in to be up near the top of League One or even a lower end Championship club. They thought he had that ability. So he's a real coup for us, and one that I'm quite excited about.
Do you think the signings that you've made so far are as of the standard that you'd hoped for before you'd signed anybody at City? Obviously, you know, the main aim for City this season, I think, unless you can put me wrong, is to stay up, which I think you've got enough to do anyway with the way that the bottom of League One is, having seen it now for a season. But do you think these signings really do improve your squad, take you to another level?
Like I said, the Joe Wright one and the Josh Neuville one, yes. The Max Power one, probably as well. Not so sure about the Curtis Tilt one. At the end of the day, where I've talked about this, and I know we'll probably talk about it throughout the season with both City and Town being in League One. I think League One is it's got at least two sections in that division. You've got it's kind of a league of a have and have-nots, if you know what I mean. I mean, you look at what Birmingham did last season, what Wrexham did last season, and even what Town did, spending £3 million on a striker in January. That's a market that City are just nowhere near being able to compete with. And I believe that over the last week or so, we've been linked with Murray Wallace from Millwall, which now appears as we've kind of dropped out of the race because we were up against teams such as Town and Blackpool. Blackpool are going big this year, as you'll know. They've made some really good signings too. So I think we've got to be aware of where we are. And I think Joe Wright, Josh Neuville, Max Power are very, very steady signings for a side that, as you say, I'm not. City fans some City fans will want to aim for higher, but with the way the club is, not owning the ground, not owning the training ground, and Stefan Rupp just owning the club, we are going to have to build in League One. We're not going to be someone that can go and throw a lot of money around and aim to be up at the top straight away. It's going to be building blocks for us. So I think they are good building blocks to start with, yeah. Hopefully there's more to come, because I do see 4 or 5 big holes in the squad still, and I'm sure that those signings will come before the end of the summer. I believe, as you say, there's one that we're believed to be close to one before pre-season starts next week. The lads are back in next week, so hopefully we're on the right track, I think, yeah, for where we've got to aim to be. And there'll be some loans to come, I'm sure, because we used the loan market very well used the loan market very well last season. I'm sure we'll aim to again.
What business are you still expecting to happen, or do you want to see happen? You said that there's one expectant to be coming in. Any idea who that might be and what position it is, and where else do you want to see Graham Alexander go out and improve the squad?
There's no nailed-on rumours of who that player might be. I know it's a couple of weeks since we had a Monday show, and Chris asked me at the time about rumours about City, and we were linked at the time with 3 centre-halves, which were Curtis Tilt, Joe Wright, and Mr. Pearson, funnily enough. And obviously we signed 2 of those players, and the third one has ended up at Doncaster. Now, there's no, what I would say, as solid a rumours as that at the moment. There are obviously names flying around. We've been linked. I think the TNA did an article today talking about, it mentioned Murray Wallace, who I talked about a few minutes ago. It mentioned Dan Agye, who Leyton Orient striker, who I know we've been interested in the past. And they also mentioned Ben Woods, a midfielder, who is at Accrington Stanley at the moment, but he's under contract and would require a fee. He actually scored a wonder goal against Walsall in the penultimate match of the season, which meant that they dropped points and we stayed above them, going for that 3rd place. So he's already having not played for City, a bit of a Bradford hero. Now, whether any of those are true or not, I don't know. The other name that's floating around that wasn't mentioned in the TNA this morning is Marcus Brown, who's an attacking midfielder, ex-Oxford. He's been at Wimbledon, another player who's been at Wimbledon for the last 6 months. Very highly rated at Wimbledon. The problem with him is he does pick up a lot of injuries from what I can gather. He's prone to hamstring injuries and misses a lot of games. But again, another player who's very, very highly thought of by the Wimbledon fan base. So they're the 4 names that are flying around at the moment. Whether any of them are solid, I don't know, because like I said, they're not as nailed on as the rumours were 2 or 3 weeks ago. Simon Parker's actually away at the moment, the TNA writer, and we've got Nathan Atkinson, his understudy, covering for him, and he's the guy that wrote the article this morning. So whether there's any more nailed on rumours to come, I'm not 100% sure. Personally, I'm hoping for at least 5 more signings. I really am, to get the squad where I would think it needs to be. But I do think that some of those will be loan signings. They're not all going to be permanent signings. We need a left wing back. We've only got Tyreek Wright at the moment who can play left. Well, I said Josh Neuville can play, but we're told he's going to compete with Brad on the right-hand side. So we've only got Tyreek Wright for left wing back. I believe that Lewis Richards and Kieran Kelly haven't agreed the new deals yet that they've been offered. If Lewis Richards signs, he might be the other left wing back. Kieran Kelly is a centre half. I would imagine whether we sign another centre half will come down to whether he signs his contract offer that he's been made. So we definitely need a centre back, another left wing back. I would imagine that we will look at another midfielder who can compete with Max Power and Alex Patterson, because we do play two central midfielders, and we've only got 2 central midfielders at the moment, so we need some competition in there. So that's the 3rd signing I'd look at. We need an attacking.
You probably need another 2, don't you, really, with the amount of games that we play at League 1 and League 2 level with all the cups, and you probably do need 2 new centre mids. Like Town have had to go out and buy 4 centre backs basically, which we'll come on to. But you do need centre midfield players who go in for tackles and that area of the pitch will pick up injuries and suspensions.
Yeah, and it's interesting as well that we only had 3 central midfielders at the end of last season on the books, which were Richie Smallwood, Brandon Kaler, and Alex Patterson. Now, Brandon Kaler's obviously gone back to Birmingham. He was a loanee. There's all the furore that's happened around Richie Smallwood and him being released, which we'll come on to shortly. And Alex Patterson's the last man standing in there. Now, Graham Alexander was asked about central midfield and said that it is an area we need to look at. We've obviously brought Max Power in, but even when we had 3, like you say, towards the end of last season, we probably looked 1 short. So you're looking at least 1, maybe 2 in there. I'm trying to be conservative because I know that City haven't got a lot of money to throw around. So how many we bring in? It might be that we bring 1 nailed-on central midfielder in, or we bring another midfielder in who can play central midfield. And then the 4th area of the pitch that I'm looking at is attacking midfield, because City play a formation where we play 3 centre halves, 2 wing backs, 2 sitting central midfielders, and then we have 2 advanced central midfielders who play sort of a hybrid between an 8 and a 10. Yeah. At the moment, we had a lot of them. We had a lot of attacking midfielders last season. At the moment, I know Ian's come in with a comment not to forget George Lapsley. Now, George Lapsley is one of those
hero.
Say again.
The Bradford hero from last season scored the goal.
Yeah, well, he is an attacking midfielder. I don't see him as someone who'll play or compete with Alex Patterson and Max Power to sit in central midfield. I see him as someone who'll compete for one of those 8 or 10 positions, the more attacking players behind the striker. At the moment, we've only got Lapsley, Poynton, Sarcevic and Tommy Lee who can play those positions. And like I said, we had an abundance of players who could play those positions last year. So I would imagine that we're going to look at least bringing an attacking midfielder in to compete with those 4. And then the main area of the pitch, as we all know, centre forward. City are massively short of centre forwards. We've only got 2 on the books. And one of those is Andy Cook, who's obviously out of his long-term cruciate knee ligament injury. Now, only having 2 is not enough at the best of times. You need at least 3, I'd say. Even if you're only playing 1 up front, you need at least 3 on the books. Yeah. We are told, or Graham Alexander was asked towards the end of last season, No, sorry, not towards the end of last season. He was asked last week about Andy Cook and his progress, and we were told that they're not putting a timescale on it, as they've said all along. He won't be ready for the start of the season, but he might not be too far away after that. So you may be looking at, I don't know, that is all that was said. So you're talking September, October. I don't know how they mean by not too far away from the start of the season. But even when he comes back, we've only got Andy Cook and Callum Kavanagh. So we're going to have to bring someone in, at least one player in who can play up front. I think we're going to be looking at players possibly that can play in 2 or 3 positions. Yeah. Possibly someone who could play central midfield and attacking midfield, or someone that can play attacking midfield and centre forward. That would be someone like Marcus Brown, who we mentioned before. He can play attacking midfield or centre forward. Or you bring someone in who can play central midfield or attacking midfield. I think there'll be little bits of wheeling and dealing to go on with that regard. But yeah, left wing back, centre half, central midfield, attacking midfield, striker. At least 5 for me, Downsy. At least 5. But some of those will be loans and probably won't happen until maybe even the season starts.
Yeah, just a quick word on Kieran Kelly and Lewis Richards not getting new contracts, or seemingly no announcement about their futures.
Yeah, they've both been offered deals. They were both on the return list as being offered deals at the end of last season, but no announcement as yet as to whether those deals have been signed. Graham Alexander again was asked about Kieran Kelly and Lewis Richards and basically said that the ball is in their court. They've both had offers from the club and they're waiting to hear back as to whether those offers will be accepted or not. I think in his last interview, he said that Kieran Kelly has had a second offer. So there's obviously been a little bit of negotiation and to-ing and fro-ing there, but still no announcement as to whether either of them will be with us next season. Like I say, if they are, then it might negate the need to sign new players at left wing-back and centre-half. If they're not, we're definitely going to have to look at left wing-back and centre-half signings. You've got, as well, the rumour that Lewis Richards in particular is attracting interest from elsewhere. He, for me, was a really good player for us last season. Surprised a lot of people at left wing back in how good he was. The problem with him is he does pick up injuries. Dislocated his shoulder twice, and then did his hamstring that finished his season in February. But if he's being linked with a move, then we need to be prepared that he might not stay on with us and he might move elsewhere, and we need to be looking at left wing backs. Whether we can get Teo Adaramola back is a different story. And obviously Tariq Wright's the only left wing back that we've got at the moment. But yeah, no news. The story is that we are waiting to hear back from them and their agents as to whether they will be signing the deals that have been offered.
Suppose it looks like that they definitely want to keep them, though, if they've been offered deals, or in one of the cases been offered 2 deals, improved offers.
Yeah, they obviously are players that Graham Alexander likes, but again, it comes back to what I was talking about before and the money that we've got to spend, Downsley, because they said it last summer and they've said it again this summer, that we have a limit on where we can go to, and that is totally understandable. We're not, Stefan Rupp's got money, but he's not got Kevin Nagle money. He's not got, Ryan Reynolds money. He's not got Birmingham City ownership money.
He's not got Aki Gaz money.
But yeah, I think we will have a limit, and if they want above that limit, it'll be a no. And the story is that we have had to say no a few times over the last year or so. So there will be no holding back if we have to say no again. But the offers, I believe, are on the table.
Just before we come on to Richie Smallwood, and then a quick thing about Rupp and kind of this Q&A that's happened with City fans. Ian's got a question. He says, when it decides to show.
It's shown up, mate. It's there.
There we go. Do you see Goodman and Ibbotson getting any game time, Gaz?
It's a difficult one, is that? Because personally, I'd like to see him get some game time, maybe in the Virtue Motors Trophy in particular, because how else are they going to prove that they're good enough to make a name for themselves at Bradford City? I'm sure they'll be part of the pre-season training group that's going off to Austria again. But over the last 2 or 3 years, barring Bobby Poynton, City haven't been great at blooding youngsters in the first team and getting players or building a career for the youth prospects at City. George Goodman is very highly rated. I do know that, and I've spoken about him before on the podcast. He's a Northern Ireland under-19 international and did make the bench a couple of times last season. He's a centre half at the moment. We do need a centre half. I would imagine that he might be. It might come down to how well he does in pre-season as to what role he can play in the squad. He's definitely somebody who, if he's as good as the stories are, then you definitely want him to see him be given a chance in at least the Virtue Motors Trophy. It will probably depend on how many centre halves we sign between now and the end of the season. I think we've got Curtis Tilt, we've got Joe Wright, we've got Aidan Baldwin. Kieran Kelly's been offered a new contract. So there are gaps there that will need to be filled at centre half, and if he proves himself in pre-season, you'd hope that he'd at least be given a chance. Now, Harry Ibbotson is a different story because Harry Ibbotson scored a lot of goals for the City youth team a couple of years ago. I don't know if he broke records in the youth team, but definitely scored a heck of a lot of goals at that level, under 19 level, his level that City's youth team plays at. But he went out, whereas George Goodman hasn't had a loan in non-league. He stayed at City. He's been in and around the City squad all the time. Harry Ibbotson has had a loan out and spent some time out on loan. I think it was Kidderminster first that he went to, and then he was at Guiseley towards the end of last season. I'm not sure how much of an impact he made in either of those spells. I don't remember him scoring. Someone might correct me on that. He's a centre forward, but and I don't remember hearing that he scored. It'd be good to speak to Lou or Chris about that because they might know a little bit more about how well he did, particularly at Guiseley. But I would imagine he might be somebody again who could be third, fourth choice, perhaps up front, probably fourth choice and below. But I see him possibly having another loan. I would imagine he's more likely to go out on loan. George Goodman might go out on loan again as well. It's probably going to come down to how well they do in pre-season and how many signings we make between now and the end of the window. But I would like personally, from a personal point of view, and I'm sure Ian agrees because Ian is a big fan of promoting youth at City. I'd like to see him given a chance in the Virtue Motors at least. Let's give him a run in that. I mean, why not? Why not let them have a go in the Virtue Motors Trophy and see how they do?
Yeah, I mean, I see that competition as a bit of a pointless trophy. I understand for City why it might be a little bit more enticing because you have got the chance then to go to Wembley and win it. I mean, as Town have, but obviously it's not going to be up on the priority list for Town to do well in. And I, when we were in it last year, we did blood a lot of youngsters through it. I mean, I remember I was going to Doncaster in the first game and virtually playing a mix and match team where half of them were like under 18s, So, it's a good chance to blood youngsters. I also think, you've signed a lot of experienced players. This is just me looking outside in. And I think sometimes you do need that exuberance of youth alongside the experienced heads. And, last season we had at Town Tom Lees, Matty Pearson. It was a very, very dependable back line in some cases, but it was also very slow and ponderous. And I think sometimes, Town we'll come on to speak about Town and the signings that we've made, but, we've made a lot of younger signings now. And I think sometimes the youngsters can be just as good for the older lads as what they are the other way around.
And it's interesting as well, isn't it, Downsy? Because how else do these lads prove themselves if they're not given a chance? I think City have looked at the Virtue Motors Trophy in the opposite way that Town have looked at it over the last couple of years, because obviously City have seen it as a trophy that they want to do well in. We've been 90 minutes from Wembley in the last 2 years. We got beat by Wickham in a semi-final year before last, totally against the run of play. Don't know how we lost that game. Last year we got Birmingham in the semi-final, and we actually put in a really, really good performance. And Birmingham fans spoke really highly about how well they thought City had played, as did and we did. We gave them a right game, and we got beat 2-1. But we did that by playing nearly our first team in it, which a lot of City fans feel was perhaps the wrong move because it cost us in the league towards the end of the season with tired legs. So whether we'll look at it different and we'll look at it how Town have looked at it this year, now we're in League One, I don't know.
I think the priority is staying up, but I just feel from City's point of view, you've got enough to stay in the division to still be competitive in that trophy. Where for Town, it's all out promotion. So Town fans really couldn't give a crap about that cup, I'll be honest. And that is very snobbish of us to say. I totally understand where other EFL fans would see us coming from that. But there has to be one show in town for Huddersfield Town Football Club this season. For Bradford City, I think because of the standard of the lower part of the division, I just think you'll have enough to stay up and be competitive.
I think ideally you do what you said you do, and you mix and match and you use it for a bit of both. I mean, Bobby Poynton wasn't someone who looked like he were going to be given a chance at one point, and he proved himself in the friendlies. I think it was season before last. He had a decent pre-season, and City fans were saying, "Why aren't he getting a go?" And then eventually he did get a go. And then even when Alexander came in and played him a little bit, he took him out of the team, and he was on the bench. And City fans are saying, "Give him a go, give him a go." And Graham Alexander actually held his hands up when he did give him a go and said, "You were right. I got it wrong. He's proved he can do it." These lads need a chance at the end of the day. And to a certain extent, I agree with you. And you've got to use the Virtue Motors Trophy as a bit of a mix and match, some older heads, and give these younger lads a chance to prove that they can do it.
Yeah, definitely. Quick word on Richie Smallwood. Obviously, there's still a lot of chatter around the city about, the fact that the decision has been made that he's not going to stay. I believe Graham Alexander has had his word to say on it from the manager's point of view.
Yeah, obviously, the news broke. Well, I think Graham Alexander was on holiday when the news broke that Richie Smallwood wasn't being retained. It's all been, a bit of a drama because he was initially, when the retained list was released, Richie Smallwood was listed as someone that City were in contract negotiations with to get to sign a new deal. And then news broke one morning. It was actually Richie Smallwood on his personal Twitter saying that he'd been told by the club that he was being released. So there was obviously a change of heart there from the club in the way that it's been portrayed. And we had to wait until last week when Graham Alexander did an interview to hear his side of things. There's all sorts of rumours gone round as to why there's been a change of heart. Even though Graham Alexander has explained a little bit of his point of view, he's not really explained why he's had a change of heart, why it's gone from we want to keep him to we don't want to keep him.
What is his point of view for any fans that don't know what he said?
Well, all he said basically is that he sat down with Richie at the end of last season as club captain and player of the year and said that you're somebody that I want with me in League One next season. And then he said, when he's been asked, that it was nagging on his mind after he had that conversation. And he went away and it was just something that was nagging at him and he was conscious about and he was worried about, and he just felt that going forward in League One, it might be something that we need different, or he didn't use the word better. He just said we need something different going forward in League One next season. And it's just something that was nagging on him and playing on his mind after he'd had that initial conversation with Richie. Obviously, Richie felt very blindsided by it, judging by his comments, and you can totally understand that. He said that he had initially wanted a 2-year deal, and after that first conversation, him and his agents had actually contacted David Sharp and said, we'll accept a 1-year deal, we want to stay here. But then Graham Alexander has had this change of heart, and all he said is that it was playing on his mind after his initial conversation with Richie, and he just felt we needed different going forward in League One. Now, why that's happened, why he's realised that late on, I don't know. Like I said, there's all sorts of rumours that have flown around in the City fan base, but at the end of the day, Richie's not going to be with us next year. For me, personally, I am concerned. Not necessarily as in, well, he won Player of the Year, so obviously he had a really good season last year. So you've got that to factor in. But you've also got to factor in the fact that he was club captain and he were a big part of that dressing room. And he was someone that were respected by the fellow players, including the senior players and the younger players. And as you know, and as any football fan knows, promotions are built on unity, togetherness, and taking the captain and the player of the year out of that dressing room, and particularly in the way that it's happened and it's all come about, concerns me a little bit. But the decision's now been made, and whether Max Power is his replacement or someone comes in further down the line to be his replacement, hopefully they can fill that gap and more, because that's obviously what Graham Alexander thinks we need going forward. He feels we need more.
Just quickly moving on to what the owner and chairman, Mr. Rupp, has had to say in the last sort of week or so. There's been some little bits of news with what he's had to say, Gaz.
Yeah, again, nothing earth-shattering, and I know we've been on for 40 minutes about City now, but 2 quick points that he made. He was asked about the ownership of Valley Parade, because it was something that he brought up at last year's fans forum when he spoke to Radio Leeds and the fans forum itself to say that he wanted to buy Valley Parade back, and then everything's gone quiet and nothing's really been said since. He was asked about it again, and basically he said that there's a gap in what he's willing to pay and what Gordon Gibb's family pension fund want for the ground. So at the moment, that's not progressing because there's a gap in valuation. But he also went on to say that he considers perhaps more important than buying Valley Parade back to be setting up our own training ground. At the moment, we train at Woodhouse Grove School, and we are at their mercy, really, as to when we can use the 4G pitches and everything. And obviously, school comes first, and if they want to use them, we can't use them. So he sees it as more important that, at the moment, whether he's just saying that because he can't agree a deal for the ground, but he's saying that he would like us to have our own training ground, which these are the two things that I say will hold City back in League One. He's not owning the ground and not owning the training ground. He said that Ryan Sparks had identified a plot of land where the training ground could be built, but we were kind of at the mercy of Bradford City Council, which, as every Bradford City fan will tell you, is not a good place to be. Bradford City Council have a history of not helping out Bradford City Football Club. They've always been more willing to help out the Bulls down the years, and City have always been felt sort of neglected by the council. So the fact that we're relying on them and the economic situation as it is at the moment, the council have probably openly admit that they've got no money, is not a good place to be. But it's good to know that we're united and we're on the same lines as Mr. Ruppin, that we obviously need to eventually own the ground and the training ground again. And we've identified the fact that we need to do that. Both of them.
Yeah. Let's quickly move on. We were hoping to have Jay on the show tonight to do a little bit about Leeds United, but unfortunately, I don't think he'll be able to join us. He might do by the time we go off. Who knows? But we'll just update you quickly. There has been a signing for the Whites today. Lucas Nemcha. I hope I said that right. Gaz, do you want to have a go?
Yeah, Nemetcha. I don't know how you pronounce his name. I know he's from Germany and he's a centre forward. Yeah.
So Leeds United are delighted to announce that Lucas Nemcha has agreed to join the club on an initial 2-year contract when his current deal expires at Wolfsburg in Germany. The 26-year-old forward will officially become a Leeds United player on the 1st of July. And it is confirmed to be Daniel Farke's first signing of the summer transfer window, having spent the last 4 years playing in the Bundesliga. Born in Hamburg, the forward began his early footballing career in Manchester City's academy, made his Premier League debut in 2018, before then gaining further experience on loan at Preston, Middlesbrough and Anderlecht. Having also spent time on loan with Wolfsburg, he then made the move permanent and has since played 73 games for the club, scoring 19 times in the League and Cup. He has scored overall 43 goals in senior professional football across Germany, England and Belgium in all competitions, including the UEFA Champions League. Gaz, quick comment on this signing. Obviously, it's a good signing for Leeds. They needed to get off the mark, really. They've been a little bit slow, maybe. I don't know how you feel about it. Obviously, we keep saying that they've got to get it right and they've got to get people in, because the gap between Leeds going up and the Premier League is growing. Obviously, there's been a hell of a lot of change in the Premier League, even in the short time that the window was open for 10 days. Thomas Frank leaving Brentford to go to Spurs and such. So how do you see this signing for Leeds?
I only know what I've learned from Google, really, Daz. He's a name that I'd heard before. I knew he'd been in the Man City Academy and he'd had a couple of loans out, in the Championship at Borough and Preston. So he's used to playing football in England, which is obviously an advantage when you're coming from abroad. He's done it before. He's obviously got a decent enough pedigree because he's played through all the England age groups. I'm just looking now. He played for under 16, under 17, under 18, under 19, under 20, under 21. And then he switched his allegiance to Germany and he played for the German under 21s. And he's got 7 international caps for Germany. So he's an international striker. His goal record might not look fantastic, but I don't believe that he's an out-and-out striker either. I believe he can play wide as well. So maybe he's somebody that can fulfill a couple of roles for Leeds. I think he's a steady signing, I think as a first signing of the summer for Leeds, I think it's a good one.
Yeah, I think. Do you think, like I said, the goals are just a bit of a concern? Not to be a town fan putting a downer on Leeds. Do you think that they needed somebody who can have a bit more of a pedigree, or do you think that there is more action to come in the transfer window for Leeds from a forward point of view?
I'm sure there is. I'm sure they'll look at bringing in more up at the top end of the pitch. I think whether his goal record is a concern depends on what role he's going to play. If he's going to be an out-and-out striker, then maybe it is. But from what I can gather, like I say, he can also play wide. So the system that Leeds play and where he fits into it will determine whether his goal record is a worry or not. But for me, it's not. I think if he's somebody who can play as a wide forward as well as a centre forward, I think he's a steady signing and a good one to get the summer business started with.
Right. Well, if Jay can join us near to the end of the show, we'll keep a lookout. But unfortunately, if he doesn't make it by the time me and Gaz go off air, obviously, I think Brownie and Jay will be doing a bit of a reaction video to the Leeds news. They have been in links or talks with other players that may or may not come off. Let's move on to a Huddersfield Town persuasion, my club, which I'll hand over to my trusty co-presenter for this part of the show.
Set the mic off you there.
So, Gaz, what questions have you got for me, Gaz?
Well, first of all, you've announced your backroom staff, or Lee Grant's announced his backroom staff, Annie Downsy. I believe at least 2, if not 3, of his backroom staff have been announced, and some of them with Liverpool Football Club connections as well. So, good pedigree there.
Yeah, so just to keep everybody in the loop, I've got some nice graphics here which we can show. Which I did a Town Talk show last night. If anybody didn't tune into that, so the first one you may be aware of, Gaz, is Paul McShane,
ex-Man United.
Ex-Man United. Obviously, previous role was there, youth coach at Man United, working across professional development phase under 21 setup. Playing career nearly 20 years as a defender, starting at Man United. But he's also featured for Hull, which I think most people will recognise his name from, and Reading lately. Yeah, I'm sure he played for Reading against us in the playoff final all them years ago, but I might be wrong on that one. Anyway, he's played 33 times for the Republic of Ireland. He was part of Man United's backroom staff and obviously youth development. Obviously knows Lee Grant from being in the Man United Academy as well. So I think that was kind of the first name that was on everybody's lips to be part of his backroom staff, and not a real shock that he's decided to join him at the John Smiths. The 2 other people depends how much people are really interested in backroom teams, to be absolutely honest. The first guy here is Jonathan Robinson, which you may know, Gaz, from Liverpool. Obviously, early career, spent 9 years at Liverpool working under with a performance analyst, in the academy before going to first team level, and he also joined Swansea City for a bit. International experience, he became Stephen Gerrard's assistant at Saudi Pro League at Etihad in 2023. And then we've also got not Paul, but again, where's the other one?
Bridge Wilkinson.
Yeah, Mark Bridge Wilkinson, obviously club background, previous clubs, and he's worked under Klopp at Liverpool as well. So 2 names there, Gaz, that I think people might not be aware of. But I was saying on the Town Talk show yesterday with Kane that they're all very young. Like it's a very, very young coaching team that Lee Grant has appointed. And obviously, Lee Grant's very young himself and inexperienced. But sometimes that to me, that's quite exciting that they've obviously all want to prove a point. They all have had very different experiences and worked under some absolutely top professionals. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they all mix together, really.
I think so. I mean, Mark Bridge Wilkinson's a name that City fans will remember. He spent part of his playing career at City, goal-scoring midfielder. And I know, as you say, with Liverpool, what I know from Liverpool, he was very, very highly rated coach at Liverpool until recently. So he's somebody that definitely got the pedigree to be a good addition to the Town staff. Paul McShane, as you say, a name that all all football fans will remember from his time at United. The other one, I can't say. I don't know about. But yeah, I think that's a good start there, Downs. I mean, I don't know if you added any more, but those three look like really solid additions for Lee Grant. Be interested to know where Lee Grant knows the Liverpool lads from. Obviously, he knows McShane from United, but he would imagine it with him bringing two in from Liverpool. He obviously knows them as well. But I think they're good ones, Downsy.
Yeah, I just think it's really interesting that both Robinson and Bridges have worked under Klopp and worked in that Liverpool machine for the last so many years. And that can't be a bad thing. Liverpool have been one of, if not the best side in the country, alongside Manchester City in the last 10 years. And for me, if you've been part of that setup and worked as closely as what these guys have got to Klopp, that for me can't be a bad thing. And I was saying to Kieran yesterday, even though Man United at first team level are a basket case, they've still had some top managers manage that football club, and McShane will have taken a lot from them. So I just like the fact that they've all had different experience, even going out to Saudi and doing the work there under Stevie G. And for me, it can't be a bad thing, because when it comes to different systems in League One, different ways of playing, it's not going to be as. I think the coaching team can be quite fluent. The only person that we haven't announced yet is our goalkeeping coach. Obviously, Lee Grant was a goalkeeper, but he likes to focus on the attacking side. Don't know whether he'll do that himself. There was a thought process that Manchester City have just released Scott Carson. And Lee Grant does know people around the Manchester area, so it wouldn't be a bad shout, would it, bringing Scott Carson in? Even if Scott Carson thinks he can be a third choice keeper, I'd have him as third choice, just to play in a few cup games if he wants to. But that's kind of where we are at with the backroom staff, guys.
The thing that strikes me, Downsy, is obviously they've come from clubs that have got great pedigree. They will now have connections in those youth teams. If you're looking at loans going forward, they're going to have connections there. Matt Bridge Wilkinson in particular, and Paul McShane. And like you say, you mentioned the United first team, but they've had a few youngsters coming through and making appearances on the bench over the last 18 months or so. So I think that's quite shrewd. That leads me on nicely. Just mentioning signings there, you've made 5 so far.
Yeah.
What do you make of the ones you've made? I believe one was made today, wasn't it? A loanee signing.
Yeah, so the latest of them was Josh Feeney. He's a centre-back that we've loaned from Aston Villa. Again, a club that we didn't really know that we had contacts with, but we've managed to take him out of Villa's academy, and he has made. He's not made a first-team appearance, I don't think, from what I was reading, but he has been on the bench, and he's very highly rated within the England setup, playing at under 16 and 18 level, captained England at under 16 level. Was at Shrewsbury Town last year. Obviously, it wasn't a season that they enjoyed, but he was a standout player for them. Played 37 times as a 19-year-old in what was a difficult season. 6'4", but apparently he's good on the ball, loves to tackle. Interestingly enough, he did get sent off in his last game, which ironically, mate, and I didn't know this, guys. I don't know whether you did, but because he got sent off in his last game, in the last game of the season, it means he's already suspended for Huddersfield Town Football Club, even if it's a new season starting. I never knew that. I thought it just all started again.
Yeah, it will be. I hadn't realised it properly until I think Ryan Gravenberch got sent off in Liverpool's last game of the season, and they said he'll be suspended for the first 3 games, or first 2 or 3 games next season. So yeah, unfortunately, he will be, Downsy. But I think again, somebody there who's got experience in League One, albeit down at the bottom, but that'll have helped shape him as well. Being in that kind of environment, he'll know what he's getting himself into in League One. I think steady away there. No Premier League appearances, but he's obviously someone who's highly thought of at Villa. What about the other 4 that you've made, mate? What you making of, what were they, and what you making of those?
Yeah, so again, I've just got the nice little graphics, but we'll go with this one first, which Chris really loves the fact that we signed this guy. Sean Rowan, centre back position, age only 22, 6'1", I believe. 2024-25 made 46. He was an ever-present for Lincoln City last year. Only the one goal, even from centre-back, so he's no Mikael Helik. However, his previous clubs have been Lincoln and loan spell at Dregheads or Druids United in 2022. How are you pronouncing that, Gaz?
I'm guessing. I'm saying Drogheda.
Yeah, Drogheda. Anyway, whoever they are, I think in Ireland. But yeah, a good signing for me. 22 years of age, a centre-back that loves the ball at his feet. He says in his own words, he loves defending. He loves a tackle. So I can imagine he's very much in the Brodie Spencer sense, because Brodie's another character that loves a tackle. I've seen the highlights, and we played obviously against Lincoln last year, so we know kind of what we're getting. Lincoln fans, including Chris, were crying over it and devastated.
Well, that is the best sign that you can have, mate. If the other team's club, the other club's fans are gutted that he's gone, which Chris obviously is, because that's why he wouldn't do a show last week. He's obviously gutted.
Flip that up, Brownie. Flip that up.
That has got to be a really good sign for Town and a bad one for Lincoln.
Yeah, we did say this. The only thing is, Gaz, we did say this last year where we nicked a load of players. We nicked Sorensen from Lincoln that Chris also cried about, and he's had a bit of an iffy time at Town. And Evans was Bristol Rovers Player of the Year, and he's not had the most smoothest time at Town so far. So obviously, it is a great sign. Like you say, you've nicked Norville from Wimbledon, and they're gutted about him. So hopefully he performs in a City shirt. The other character that we signed at the same time as Rowan was Joe Lowe. Now, this, for me, is the best signing so far this transfer window. Centre-back from Wickham, was up there last season as one of Wickham's Player of the Year. He didn't win Player of the Year, but he was one of the best players in the division and one of the best players at Wickham. Obviously, they missed out on promotion. He's 6'5". He's an absolute beast, Gaz, at the back. He does remind me of Mikael Helik in that sense. He's absolutely ginormous. Played obviously for Wickham last year, 38 League One starts, 4 goals, over 3,200 minutes played. Overall in his career so far in the last 2 seasons, he's played he scored 8 goals. Previous clubs, he's played with Wickham, and he's had loan spells at Dorchester, Frome Town, Yate Town, Eastleigh, Walsall, obviously Wickham there, as you can see. So he's come from a very, very stocked background, Gaz, and he's obviously a very talented footballer at the age of 23, and we've only paid the nominal under 23 payment for him. It is probably going to tribunal. Lincoln accepted the fact that what we wanted to pay for Sean Rowan. Wickham, by all knowledge, are not happy with what we wanted to pay, so they are taking it to tribunal.
What I noticed about him, Daz, he's played a lot of games for a 23-year-old. He's got good experience, and he's used to playing up there at the top end of League One with Wickham. So I'm not surprised the gutted he's gone, to be honest. To a promotion, somebody that they feel that they'll be fighting with for promotion next year, it's a big blow for them. Two more, is it? 2 more signings that you've made? Yeah, 2 more. So we got Marcus Harness here from. He's a cracking signing.
We signed him from Ipswich on a free transfer. Obviously knows Lee Grant very well because Lee Grant was the assistant head coach at Ipswich. Played at Derby last year on loan, as you can see there. But overall, his goals and appearances are decent. 4 goals and 4 assists last season. I'd love him to have more for a winger. And I think in League One, at the top of League One, Gaz, he can score more goals. Rather than being fighting down there at the bottom for Derby County, the Championship, a difficult league for any winger to be in. But if he's in an upward, traversing Town side, I don't see why he's not the sort of player that could hit double figures.
Where do you see him playing, Downsy? You mentioned as more of a 10, didn't you? But has he played as a winger? Can he do both? Yeah, he can do both. So a lot of the time he plays, I think, on the right wing. But for Ipswich, we had an Ipswich fan on. I did a bit of a video with him, and he was saying in their League One season,
he played mainly as a number 10 and then drifted out to both wings. So it will be interesting to see where Lee Grant plays him. Now, the one position that we need to sign players in, depending on the formation that Lee Grant plays, because nobody actually knows what formation he's going to play, is if he's going to play wingers, we need to sign at least 3 more wingers. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. But, yeah, Arnott is he's definitely, I think, a player that everybody's kind of excited to see that how he can perform. And then the really steady one there, Gaz, the first guy that we signed, Ryan Ledson, centre midfielder, A27, 6'1", again, goals and appearances at Preston last year, played 26 times, scored 1 goal, and has got a really, really good pedigree within the EFL for the teams that he's played. Kind of can fit in any sort of formation. And he's described as the new Jonathan Hogg. Let's just say that.
He's somebody that you signed, didn't you? Before you'd announced the manager, he was. You knew he was coming, didn't you, for quite a long time? Yeah. Also married to Coronation Street actress. I will say, I don't know her name, but she plays Bethany in Coronation Street. Lucy Fallon, that's his missus.
Ah, okay. I love the fact you've done your research, Gaz.
We love Corrie. So
those are the signings so far. Very happy with them. I think it's a good start to the transfer window. I just hope that they can continue to make it a great one, because that's what we kind of need.
Yeah, I think you've made some good signings there, and I think you're in a better place. I know there was a lot of optimism going into last season, and obviously that is there again, and the need to get out of League One. And with the budget that you've got, you've got to be getting out of League One. But I think there's no Birmingham there, there's no Wrexham there. I think this is a big opportunity for a club like Town. Where else are you looking to add, do you think? Well, where would you like to see signings be made to add to the 5 that you've made so far?
Yeah, well, you said 5 signings for City. I think we need to sign another 5, to be honest. I'd like to see, we're supposed to be getting a goalkeeper from Crystal Palace in. Now, that's interesting because we've got Lee Nichols and we've got Jacob Chapman. Both played last year's first choice goalkeeper when the other was injured or sort of not in form. So if we are bringing this lad called Goodman in, who's from Palace, don't know
what it is.
Yeah, from Wimbledon.
Absolutely brilliant goalkeeper. Massive part of why Wimbledon had the best defensive record in League Two last year, and he was a big, big part of that. Some of the saves he made were incredible, mate. Very, very highly rated goalkeeper. Yeah, so
apparently we're in for him, and he wants to come to Town. So what that says for Lee Nichols or Jacob Chapman, I'm not too sure, to be honest, and I'd be a bit worried if I were them. Because this Goodman's obviously not going to come and just sit on the bench, is he? You know what I mean? He's played last season for Wimbledon, played out of his skin, and you've just reiterated that point. So I think he'll be wanting to play a few games for Town. The other positions, I do think we need still another centre back because I'm not too sure on Bolker's injury record. Although Bolker now would be the 4th centre back. Then you've got, I think we need to still sign another centre mid. But like I said, the main positions are the wide positions. If he's going to play with wingers, we need to sign a couple more wingers, to be honest. I'd like to see a big striker come in, big sort of solid centre forward, to be honest. Nathan Lowe is the chap from Stoke that was on loan, obviously, at Walsall last year. He's rumoured to be coming in. I mean, that would be an excellent signing as well, I think. And probably would be one of the only sort of striking forward players that we will bring in, because we still have 4 strikers on the books: Freddie Ladapo, Radulojevic, Healy, and obviously Joe Taylor and Jake Charles. Dion Charles, sorry, not Jake Charles. Dion Charles.
5 strikers on the book.
5 strikers, yeah. So I can see Nathan Lowe making it 6, and maybe we let one of them go out on loan or try to offload them. Preferably Ladapo or Radulojevic, or Healy. I'm not really bothered, but any of them can go. You can have one at City if you want, Gaz.
You speak so highly of them, Downsy.
Oh, I know. But yeah, wingers, mate. We need wingers.
So you're looking at wingers, centre back, keeper, striker?
Yeah, and another. I'd like ideally to get another centre mid in if
Yeah,
we can.
lots of business still to be done.
Yeah.
How's the general feeling in the town fan base at the moment, Downsy? How do you feel, and how do the Surrey fans think that things are shaping up so far?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of positivity around this league rant and coaching team, and I think it's come together particularly well in the last 2 weeks. A lot of credit does have to go to the Lee Mabry and the recruitment team. They've obviously been hard at work. Lee Grant's come in and he's obviously started really well. Players want to come to the football club because of his reputation, which is fantastic to see. So for me, and I think a lot of other town fans, there's a lot of optimism now from what we were, maybe 2 months ago. I think there's been a big sea change of, right, let's get behind the lads that obviously trying to make a difference. The standard of player, which is important, Gaz, as you well know, being a City fan, is important. I think bringing somebody like Joe Lowe in, I'm really, really excited to see him play. I think that's one of the signings of the summer so far for any League One club. To get him for the price that we're going to get him for, at only 23 years of age, I think if he wanted to, he could either go play at a higher level and we could sell him on for a lot of money, or he's the sort of player that can take over Mickey Ellick's sort of title, as it were, and become a bit of a town stalwart, but in a successful side rather than one that's going down. So yeah, I think there's a lot of positivity, but that comes with a caveat. It's been a good start. It needs to become a great window. It's not a great window so far. It's a good start, but it needs to become a great window.
And you've also, I think, got to be wary of what happened last year and all the excitement and the expectation, and everyone thought that you'd had a really good chance of going straight back up. So I think you've a better chance this year, but I think there's got to be that. It's just got to be tempered a little bit, and hopefully you can do it this year rather than what happened last year. I think you've got a really good chance this year, Downsy. I really, really do.
Yeah, I think just looking at, I don't know whether you've looked around the division this so far, Gaz, but obviously Brian Barry Murphy's just gone to Cardiff as their manager. They haven't done a lot of business so far, but I'm sure under him, who's a very, again, this is the one thing I wanted to bring up with you, really. You look at Brian Barry Murphy, not had a lot of experience at Cardiff. Lee Grant, not had any experience at first team level as a manager. You've got Tom Cleverley at Plymouth. Yes, he's been at Watford for a season or so, but again, still not very inexperienced, but he's still, young for a manager. You've got Conor Hourihane at Barnsley, only had sort of like 12 games, 13 games at the end of last season. So do you feel there has been a change in particularly clubs at this level going, well, we don't want your Mark Hughes and we don't want your, Harry Redknapp's. We want young, inexperienced coaches that are really hungry to be successful, because we have seen it from this division with McKenna, with Schumacher, with the the guy at Buckingham at Oxford.
Yeah.
These young coaches, Messino at Portsmouth, that have no experience of going into these jobs with sometimes big expectations and then really doing well.
I think you're spot on, and I don't think it's necessarily just limited to League One and League Two. You look at the Premier League as well, and the younger coaches that are there. In the past, at Premier League level, it were always the same names. You're talking Sam Allardyce, Tony Pulis. They were just going round and round in circles, weren't they? You look at players now, like you say, look further down the pyramid. Des Buckingham, Luke Williams, that did well at Notts County, and then obviously struggled when he stepped up. But there's rumours that he might end up going back to Notts County. Obviously, Michael Duff hadn't been a manager for too long before he rocked up at Barnsley. He did Barnsley in Town and Cheltenham. I think it's a definite sea change. I think City are probably one of the few clubs that are an odd one out there with Grant Alexander, who's been around for a while. I think it's something that, you talked about Steven Schumacher. There was Ryan Lowe before him at Plymouth, who's now rocked up at... Where's he rocked up at? Is it...
Oh, yeah, he's got another job, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. I think there's a feeling it's in League One as well. Is it Wigan? He's at Wigan, isn't he?
Oh, yeah. Wigan are a funny one, They looked like a really good side last year but they just couldn't score goals. So that's why they ended up in mid-table. Like they weren't a bad side; they could play football, but they just couldn't score any goals. Like they turned up at the John Smiths and we were all like, "The LVs are quite good on ball." But yeah.
There were a few teams like that in League Two. Really good in between both boxes, but once they got in either box, they struggled. I noticed Gavin's put a comment in, and I just wanted to mention it about Plymouth and Gareth Bale. I think Plymouth are going to be a side that are going to have a real good go this year. There's talk about their budget being quite high, and obviously aiming to get straight back into League One. Into the Championship. Gareth Bale buying into Plymouth, Downsy.
I know it's Matt. I put it in the WhatsApp chat earlier. I don't understand what's happening with football at the moment. Luka Modric's turning up at Swansea. Plymouth, have got connections now with Gareth Bale. Town have got Nagel, who's an American, somewhat billionaire. It's just a bit. Football is just a bit mad, isn't it, at times? And I mean, I think the fellas have said how tough League One's going to be, and I do think it's going to be tough. But I also think that they're into Wrexham and they're into a Birmingham this year. And I think that might concertina the league table a little bit, particularly at the top. But I also think that means that you're going to have to fight in every game to get points. But maybe the gap to the bottom will be even bigger this time. So I'm just thinking of the teams that, like last year, Cambridge and the Shrewsbury's. Town didn't win these games. They didn't perform against the Northamptons. I think to go up in this league next year, you're going to have to win your 12 or 13 teams at the bottom because everybody's going to be taking points off each other at the top.
They're the games that win your promotion, Downsy. You hear about these teams that do this a lot, and they'll beat the good teams, and then they'll lose to the teams down at the bottom of the league. They're the games you Tuesday night away at Northampton, or your New Year's Day rocking up at Cambridge. These are the games where you have to grind out a result, and it's the same at every level of football. You see it in the Premier League. Liverpool got over the line this year because they didn't just beat the teams near the top of the league. They had a good record against the teams that were struggling down at the bottom, when I was obviously close to Liverpool in the 90s, that was what they couldn't do. That was why they didn't do well in the 90s, because they were losing to teams that were down at the bottom of the league. They might have had a decent record against Man United, who were winning the league, and your Arsenal and your Chelsea, but they couldn't get over the line in those games. And they're the bread and butter. They're the games that win your titles and win your promotions at any level of football. And they're the games that you need to win, mate. And hopefully, from a Town point of view, they'll do that next year. Obviously, from a City point of view, I'm hoping they won't. But from a Town point of view, I think that's what they'll need to do. Like you say, you struggled against your Northampton. I remember you coming on after you'd played Northampton last year, and you were just in bits, and that needs to change. That needs to change for Town this year. Yeah.
Any more guys on Town?
I don't think so, mate. I think we've covered what your points that you sent me earlier on. Like you said, it sounds like both clubs have got a bit of business they need to do before the window shuts. How much of that will be done before the season starts, we don't know, but pre-season's starting soon, isn't it? So
you said City are in Austria, Town are also in Austria. I think we were both in Austria last year, never played each other. So Town haven't announced their pre-season friendlies in Austria. I don't know whether City have, but
we've only got one while we're over there. We've announced 5, I think, friendlies, and one of them is while we're in Austria.
Have you got a home game?
Yeah, Borough. We're playing Borough at home. The others are all away.
We're playing Burnley, so I remember the days when we used to play Barcelona B and Real Betis, and now we're back to playing Burnley. I remember years ago we played Newcastle, and Colaccini played, and everybody booed him.
We played Newcastle, We played them when Rafa was manager.
This was like 2009 when we played them. 2010. Yeah. We were League One at the time, and they wore a black shirt with like white lapels down the side, and then they had them like. Do you remember they had like green shorts? And,
vaguely. Yeah.
Yeah, Colaccini played for. I can't remember who else were in that side, but anyway, that's going back a bit. But yeah, the most famous one I remember for pre-season was when we played Barcelona B, and Barcelona B had 80% possession. and somebody behind me in the stands shouted, "Oi, can we have our ball back?" Which was quite funny at the time. So yeah,
it was same with City, mate. 20 years ago, we played Fiorentina in a friendly, and then we had a little run in the Intertoto Cup at one point as well. So yeah, we've been there as well.
Well, we'll be back with more Monday shows as the weeks go on. As I say, I think Chris and Lou will be doing their non-league show on Wednesday. So please tune in where they'll be talking all about, Halifax Town, Farsley, everything up and down the NEC and the NCL. So, and Jay and Brownie, I think we'll be doing a show maybe tomorrow or some point this week saying about the signings that Leeds are going to make. But cheers, Gaz, for joining us this week on this Monday roundtable. It's not really been a roundtable. It's just been a across the table show tonight. But yeah, cheers for joining us, man.
Pleasure as always, Downsy. I believe we're having a beer, aren't we, on Saturday, me and you and a few other lads.
We are to celebrate my 29th birthday. So I'm getting old, Gaz. I don't like it.
Oh, don't say that. I'm in my 40s, mate.
Yes, but you look 22, so you're fine. No, but thank you very much for everybody joining us tonight on the show. Really do appreciate it. Please, as I say, like and share and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for those commenting tonight, including Craig, who says, we'll leave the last comment up to Craig because I didn't show his earlier on. Bradford, I'm sure, will be safe and sound come next May. Well, let's hope so. Let's hope City are sound. Let's hope the town go up. And not really bothered about Leeds. No, I'm joking. Let's hope for a good season for Leeds United too in the Premier League. But we'll see you next Monday for more roundtable discussion. I've been Steve. That's been Gaz. And we'll see you next time. Cheers.